Now you can hear me. Good, that's the problem.
Yeah. One is not speaking to the
Yes, good day, people. Wonderful to see all of you joining. We'll start in a moment.
Yes, and we have still a small echo. But don't know why this echo is here.
Joseph, can you hear us? Joseph, can you hear us? No?
Hello, everybody. Hello, Hans-Josef. Good to see you as well.
Hello, nice to meet you. Will we speak in English or in German?
It's a bit of a mixed bag. I think we're speaking part German, part English.
Oh, then I choose German. When it is okay.
A great welcome to this World Renew Day 2022. It's our great pleasure to welcome you here. We've started now the live stream, so the session is now broadcasted. And it's my great pleasure to welcome you on behalf of the Global 100% Renewable Energy Platform and the World Wind Energy Association. We are a small group of people here in Bonn at the headquarters of the Global 100% Renewable Energy Platform, and some speakers are joining us from other parts of the world as well. So with this, it's my pleasure to hand over to my colleague, to Mareike van Staden, who is representing on the Global 100% Renewable Energy Platform Executive Committee, the local cities network ECLAY. Mareike.
Thank you very much, and a warm welcome to our online guests and our in-person guests as well. We will start with a video and a brief intervention from Consuelo Mendes. She's with the Artists for Future and has some amazing artwork to share and some key messages. So Consuelo, over to you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the invitation to this very important event. I am Consuelo Mendes from Ecuador, and I have living in Germany for more than 20 years. I am a member of the group Artists for Future and WorldREnewDay2022. We are doing different activities in order to express our concern about the multitude of problems arising due to climate change. Climate change is a consequence of non-sustainable practices being executed to this day. We as humans are the only ones responsible for every environmental problem that is causing devastation in multiple areas of nature. For this reason, everybody needs to put in the work to encourage others. So we are all aware of what the future holds if we don't act now. We believe that photos, art, music, theater, movies, and other social and cultural activities encourage people to choose the right path in order to protect the Mother Earth. Pictures are very important in that regard. Colors and graphics give us a lot of information of many different aspects. They can make us aware, and they can open our minds, because sometimes people are tired of listening to the same words. Since in most cases they already know about the problem, but they probably need it shown to them through another form of communication. Together with some members of the local group Artists for Future, we finded some parachutes that we received from Mother Earth Project in Washington, who started this big project. There are more, almost than 4,000 parachutes, excuse me, in many different countries around the world. These parachutes are painted on the 17 SDGs, so not only about the nature and climate, but also on human rights, good education, and the right for humans and other creatures to maintain their dignity. Sandra Prüfer contacted Barton Rubenstein in order to get some parachutes to Bonn, of which some were painted in schools and other organizations. We are using all of them at different events and demonstrations for the environment and social and cultural activities, because we think that there are a lot of possibilities to show our concern for the world's future. With the right colors, pictures, and some texts, we want to encourage people of different cultures and societies and urge governments to find strategic solutions in order to protect the most important thing in the world, the nature. Because if we don't act now, it could be too late for us. Future generations and all life on the planet. We are not alone in this earth, and we need to ensure the life of everything, because all behavior and the form in which we use the resources the earth provides have a huge impact on the future of this world. We need sustainable industries, sustainable agricultural practices, sustainable and renewable forms of energy, and sustainable societies and cultures in order to have peace with neighbors, countries, nature, and ourselves. Thank you. I want to add something. We have a temporary exhibition at the Platz here in the green place, and we expose almost 25 parachutes. Yeah, these where some of these were exposed in Stockholm, and for example, it says people over profit, and some other parachutes we can see after that if you want. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Consuela, for your great message and also for the wonderful images you've shared with us here. I think it's really interesting to see how music and art can really bring people together. That's a real catalyst and wonderful, bringing young and old together, all walks of life, and people actually having fun in the sun as well. So that was fantastic. Thank you. Now, without much ado, we'll go to our next panel. And we have people both online and in person here in Bonn. So apologies if we have any hiccups on that one. But we want to discuss now under the framing of renewables for climate, making sure that we can move forward and what that means. What does it mean to contribute from the side of people, but also contribute through the different renewable energy sources we have to solve and address the global climate crisis that we are facing. I will give a brief impulse presentation focusing very much on the local level, local action, and then we have a wonderful lineup of international experts, and I will introduce them briefly before they give their intervention, and then we have hopefully a nice interactive discussion. So questions can come from the floor in German or in English. We will try and translate as needed for those who do not speak the one or the other language, and we have a wonderful room here full of people as well. So hoping for a great interactive session. Let me share my screen and hopefully we can move forward. Great. So on the impulse presentation side, I very much wanted to focus on towards 100% renewables on this World Renew Day 2022. This is the second World Renew Day we've had. And my name is Marijke van Staden. I am a South African leading ICLE's climate work globally as the director of the Carbon Climate Center. So briefly saying, we are in a global climate emergency. And yes, we need to phase out fossil fuels fast. This is very clear. But we also need a clear roadmap to plan that shift and that transition to clean, safe, modern energy production with a low to zero emissions. Of course, we will not be able to do that immediately, so a transition process is planned, but with a call on everyone to make sure that we deploy it that is context specific, nature conscious, and socially responsible, of course. From ICLE's side, we have designed a climate neutrality framework that calls for immediately and drastically avoiding, reducing, and sequestering greenhouse gas emissions, but also divesting from polluting fuels and actions, repurposing that money and reinvesting it into clean, green, and sustainable. And last, and certainly least, to offset and compensate any emissions that cannot now immediately be removed, reduced, or avoided. So this is a very much we see this as a short-term activity. And if we look at energy in particular, many of our subnational governments have no direct control over national energy plans and where the energy comes from. That piece then they can offset, for example, in their own operations. So we looking at renewables as an enabler. The interesting piece is that it can do so many things. And I think the people who are working in the space of renewables know this, but we also need to reach to a broader audience. And certainly we can decarbonize the energy supply by using all possible renewable energy sources. And of course, this will immediately have an impact on climate change mitigation. That is, I think, quite clear. But what we also forget quite often is that it could be a key to resilient energy systems, and our energy systems of the future need to be more resilient to the impacts of climate change as well. Something that's very close to my heart is making sure that we can give access to clean, safe, and modern energy for all, making sure that those who do not have access to energy, that they get renewable energy, which would be part of the just transition. And further, of course, looking at it from government perspectives and businesses, improving energy independence is interesting, and energy security at national and local levels, of course. Last but not least, stimulating the local economy by using local renewables makes sense. It's a very interesting financial model, and we need to transition to 100% renewables as far as this is possible to achieve our climate neutrality, and of course, including net zero emissions. Now, IRENA Coalition for Action has co-designed a very nice definition, which you will see displayed here on the screen. I won't read through the whole definition, but please take a look at that, because this is exactly what we need. Renewable energy resources used 24 hours a day, every day of the year. That is 100% renewables. And if you look at the image, we need to look at storage, we need to look at green hydrogen, we need to make sure that our electrical grids are stable, but also heating and cooling in buildings, of course, and looking at the whole portfolio. All renewable energy sources are interesting and important here. Local action, of course, is what we're looking for, and there ICLEI specifically serves local and regional governments who are called on to drive and lead the sustainable energy transition, not only in their own territories, but also in their own governmental operations. They have unique positions and authorities they can use for this by setting local targets, mandating energy efficiency and energy conservation, which is, of course, the heart of or the start of the process, and then of course looking at all the sectors shifting away from fossil fuels and old ways of doing it into a new paradigm to make sure we can effectively embed renewables in our daily lives as well. However, city governments, regional governments do not do this on their own. They of course need local civil society, businesses and industry, but certainly they need national governments to step in and make sure that we can move forward together. The national governments have a clear role and responsibility here to enable the framework conditions and making sure that policies are in place and money can flow to implement. I'm going to give you a snapshot of projects where we're working, in this case through the German International Climate Initiative, called the 100% Renewable Cities and Regions Roadmap Project. Now we've got cities in Argentina, Kenya and Indonesia. And we have also cities that are part of our broader network who have set 100% renewable targets. You might be familiar with, of course, Vancouver, city of Malmö in Sweden, but of course also some of our Korean colleagues, Incheon County and Jeju province, for example. There is some amazing work being done on the 100% piece. And this is what we do. We look at data collection and energy modeling, identifying the feasibility, what could be possible for a 100% RE roadmap, bringing in the technologies and understanding which technologies that are cost efficient could be developed and used, which policy frameworks are not yet in place to put that in place, and of course, then rolling out local strategies. And we develop up to the roadmaps with the local and regional governments and help them design these bankable projects and putting them in touch with potential investors and funding agencies. Now, we have a wonderful opportunity, and this is an open invitation to you and your city, you and your region. Join us, join forces, make sure that we can move forward together. There are support programs in place, and in particular, the Global 100% Renewable Energy Platform. Behind me, you will see the banner. That is the space where we bring together the partners committed to 100% renewables. There are also interesting global movements, and I would like to focus specifically on the Energy Compact. This is a call, again, from the side of the UN, where we're also stepping up across the board, also with businesses stepping in, national governments stepping in, industry and so on. That's a space that's moving on the collective commitments and moving forward to achieving our collective targets as well. And of course, wonderful support available out there. Please take a look and connect to us if you're interested. Thank you so much. Now let me stop sharing my screen and introduce my panel to you. Now we have two colleagues online. So we have Jamil Hussain, if you've got your video on, wonderful, from the World Wind Energy Association from India. A warm welcome to you, Jamil, and we're very pleased to have you with us. And I know it's pretty late your evening, so we'll be quite snappy and focus on nice discussions and let you go to bed. Then we also have Hans-Josef Fell. Very warm welcome to you, Hans-Josef from Energy Watch Group. Happy to have you with us. And then here in person, Malte Kleinwoord, Parents for Future. Malte, if you could just speak a few words so that our camera zooms in on you. So the camera is here. There we go. Okay, so he's sitting next to Stefan. Wonderful. Great. So without much ado, Malte, I'd like to give you the floor, and then then we'll hop to Jami, and then we'll go to Hans Josef.
Should I start speaking from here or? Yeah.
That's fine.
No, it's okay. Okay, so my name is Malte Kleinwort. I'm from Parents for Future, Germany, and I'm part of the movement since 2019. So let me just briefly give you, as an introduction, shortly some notes about Parents for Future, because might be people who do not really know what is Parents for Future. It was founded in 2019. Can you understand the speaker? Jami? No? Nothing?
I can understand.
You can understand. Okay, then it's okay. Please. Thank you. Am I understandable now? It's okay? Give me a thumbs up or thumbs down.
Definitely. It's good.
It's good? Okay. Thank you, Jami. Yeah, 2019, it was founded to support Fridays for Future, which started in Germany at the end of 2018, because Fridays for Future was threatened by persecution due to the strikes. And so adults like me, they said, well, we have to support them. So when they get legally charged, we have to give them lawyers to defend them. Well, it never happened really in Germany, but that was the start. But shortly afterwards, we became a platform for a whole bunch of adult activists, not only parents, but all kind of elder activists, I would say. And we seek contact with other groups, individuals, and institutions who are important to achieve the goal of climate neutrality. So kind of networking is our goal, on the one hand with other friendly groups and movement, and also not so friendly at first hand parts of the local company movements. And yeah, and here in Bonn we have a task force for climate neutral Bonn, which connects activists from Fridays for Future and Parents for Future. So we try to put them together, where we make these kind of talks with all the important people. So representatives of the city, representatives of the politics here in Bonn, and representatives of the economy, like corporations, but also the bigger companies like Post or Telecom here in Bonn. I think in order to achieve the goal of climate neutrality, the switch to 100% renewable energies is central for a number of reasons, even though, and this is also, I think, important, the energy revolution is, of course, not sufficient to itself. So we cannot come to climate neutrality only by achieving the goal 100% renewable energy, but it's one key goal that we have to achieve. Without the energy revolution, it is not possible to achieve an engine revolution, which is part of the transportation turnaround or revolution. I think all these terms, they might be for not German speakers a bit orky, I don't know, but in German we have all these terms like with turnaround or revolution. It's hard to translate. And without the energy revolution, industry cannot be transformed in a climate neutral way. This is something right now when we have a new government here in the region. They try to become to make the industry climate neutral. And without the energy revolution, the heating revolution, Mareike also mentioned it, with the hole on the map, cannot succeed. To implement this comprehensive transformation, we believe, and I think this is central for us, it is crucial to win the hearts and the minds of the people. And this is something it comes after Consuelo. I thought again, these pictures, he said, we need these pictures, we need to, why do we need the when we saw the slides. Why are they important? Because people comes directly to the heart, and we have to win the hearts of the people. And why do we have to win it? Because it's not only a question, if we want to achieve our goals, of some few players who are important. It's not the mayors of some bigger cities. It's a question of all, because we need the power and the wisdom of the many. This is, I think, also the people who are active now for 20 years or 30 years, they said something has changed when Fridays for Future came. And what was the key difference? The many, they were on the streets. And when the many came, everything began, and there was a kind of transformation. I think, well, this is we have always to keep in mind, and this is the main goal we have to. And now it's the question for me in this panel: what is 100% renewable energy connected to this goal that we have to achieve? And I think campaigns like Wettbewerb that we started as Parents for Future, where we went to all cities and communities and said, become a part of a competition to be the best in photovoltaic, to become new photovoltaic on the roofs of your city or community. And we have now 222 cities and communities in Germany to take part of this competition. This is a kind of, this is only not only to get the mayors that they become a part of the competition, but the people, they say, well, there's something happening and I want to become a part, because my roof can be one of these roofs that to win the competition. And what is needed are appropriate legal framework conditions. This is what Mareike said, so-called push elements in Germany, such as the ban of on oil heating or combustion energies, engines. We just had the discussions, and pull elements, such as a good infrastructure for climate neutral energy and climate neutral transport. 100% renewable energy motivates people to switch to electricity-based technologies. At the same time, motivating people is crucial to achieving the 100% renewable energy goal. So from a local perspective and from the perspective of the climate justice movement, it is about activating as many people as possible, giving them the opportunity to get involved. For example, by participating in actions or by installing balcony modules for photovoltaic. Renewable energy as citizen energy, which is participatory energy generation, plays a central role in activation. So the climate protection movement stands side by side with the groups and activists who are working for citizen energy and sees many connections here. And I think citizen energy is one where we cross and where we are very close to the movement 100% renewable energy. Pessimists would say for becoming 100% renewable energy, and activation of the people is necessary, which can only succeed if there is already 100% renewable energy. So that doesn't work, because what needs to be achieved is a precondition of itself. That would pessimists say. Optimists would say the time is ripe for movement. Even the big energy lobbies that are actually putting the brakes on the way of 100% renewable energy are having problems keeping people and their hearts and minds calm. And the realists, they would say the future is open. And who does not fight, who does not even move, has already lost. I'm on the side of the realist and optimist. For everything else, I simply lack leisure. Thank you very much.
Trying again. So thanks very much, Malte. I think we have heard some wonderful keywords and buzzwords that will stick in our minds and take us further. I like the optimist and the realist combination as well. but there are so many more people we need to bring on board, and maybe if we can take that to a discussion point after we've heard from the other panelists. How do we get the pessimists and the negative people on board, because we need everybody, as you rightly say. So now we go to our online colleague, Jami Hossein. Would you like to please share your thoughts and perspectives?
Yeah, thank you, Marike. And first of all, good day and guten Tag. This is the German I know, Hans. And especially to Stephen Zenger, Marike, Juan Staden, Malte, Kleinwort, and Hans Joseph, and all other participants. And welcome to this gathering. And I must say that this presentation by the artists was very impressive, and they put the parachutes not only to good use, but perhaps the proper use. And that was very nice. And I think I've already heard some very good things that I wanted to hear: the heart and the minds, winning the heart and the minds, and the artists and things like that. So it's very nice to be part of this gathering. And I would like to thank Global 100 RE and World Wind Energy Association for convening this program. The few words that I would like to speak on will focus on climate change, energy, and peace. These are the things which occupy our minds these days. So I will begin with climate change. Today, CO2 concentrations in the atmosphere peak at around 421 parts per million. And this is perhaps, why perhaps, but actually thousands and thousands of years, this has not been the case that we reach this level of CO2 emissions in the atmosphere, or rather the concentration. And the future trajectory of the emissions will determine the extent to which we have temperature rise, sea level rise, floods, extreme weather events, etc. And interestingly, in this entire global crisis that we see, renewable energy has emerged as the only solution to address climate change on a global scale. Of course, there can be other small things that we can do, but without renewable energy, perhaps we cannot do much. And while we are battling with, multiple climate issues, a new battle, and a new war of a different kind, has erupted in Eastern Europe. And this has further, in my opinion, this has further heightened the climate crisis, which was already there. You see, fundamentally, climate change is largely related with how we use energy. But I would like to add that climate, energy, and peace are intricately connected. If we have no peace, we cannot achieve emissions reductions, and we cannot contain the temperature rise and sea level rise and all the things which we try to address. All our efforts and whatever we might do to address global warming, CO2, temperature rise, etc., can be completely undone by a war in following ways. I will just point out some of the things that come to my mind. The use of weapons and war machinery, mass destruction, explosions, fires that we have been seeing in the media in recent times, all mean immense and uncontrolled emissions of GHG into the atmosphere. Well, this is what we want to control, and this is what Paris, Glasgow, Marrakesh, everything was about, and everything gets undone. We have no idea how much emissions and how much of damage is caused by these wars in the context of climate change. And of course, the other kinds of damage also, environmentally, and forests and cities and human suffering, which I don't want to, sort of underplay. This is always there. A war involving powerful political and economic blocs, which are there, can easily cause irreversible damage to climate and the living part of Earth, which is the biosphere. And you see, this biosphere is just, is skin thin on the surface of Earth, which is like a rock. So it is just like a 20-kilometer thick strip on the surface of Earth. That is where we live and do everything. And this can be damaged or destroyed. And a consequence of war is reconstruction, which is of course must, but will also add to these emissions. And you see the international collaborations which are must to achieve 100% RE, to add more and more renewable energy on a very large scale, and to address climate change, on a global scale. All these things get pushed aside. We will not have international collaborations when there are wars, there is violence, and there are these kinds of conflicts. And so this thing goes on, and very little progress on the climate change. I heard this word, climate emergency, Mary Kay, climate urgency, climate crisis. These are the words we have heard too often over the last few years. Marrakesh, Paris, Glasgow, these emergencies were all over. If that is the case, we must stop this war. And in fact, we must prevent any other war. And the international community must find ways to resolve the differences. The differences can always be there and will always be there amongst people, amongst nations, amongst groups of people. But to resolve these differences without resorting to violent means. This is something that we must put on the table and understand that this is must. Hence, you are a politician, perhaps you can carry it. Nobody would listen to me that much as they will listen to you. But we must end this approach to violent means to address, and threaten each other and do this and do that. Yeah, we must put an end to these things if we want to do something on climate change, if we want to address climate change. Otherwise, the things are going to be as we have been projected. We should keep in mind that even today, when we are talking so much about renewable energy, that 60 to 80% of energy requirements are met by fossil fuels. So we are still very far away from 100% RE. And which are these fossil fuels, which are highly concentrated forms of energy. So if we want to replace that, if we have to achieve a 100% replacement, we will need to set up much higher capacities in terms of megawatt delivered of renewable energy systems. And this requires massive infrastructure. This requires supply chains, international collaborations, R&D, none of which is possible with war and violence. And then energy is only one aspect of human development path. We have otherwise multiple challenges of health, education, biodiversity, urbanization, extinction. They say there is a sixth extinction which is underway, how to address that. All these challenges require social, economic, and scientific collaborations across the globe. None of this is possible in an environment of war and violence. The modern world, particularly the West, has achieved a lot in science and technology. But when we look at climate change and the environmental consequences of our activities, we find that our science is failing us. I will take only two names, and you can Google the rest about, about the people in the East that we may look to. One is Mahatma Buddha, who lived 3,000 years back, and he preached peace, and he lived almost 3,000 years back, and just contemplated on, why we do this and why we do that, and why the humans suffer so much. And then we had Mahatma Gandhi in more recent times, who also preached peace. As they say in India, I would end my talk with that, Shanti, 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 which means peace, peace, peace for renewable energy.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ami. Very nicely summarized. I love your messaging. Climate change, energy, and peace frames it extremely well, and there will be some questions popping up for you in a little while. Now handing over to Hans-Josef as our politician on the spot. Hans-Josef, I understand you maybe wish to speak in German. I think that should be fine, although not all our online guests.
I can speak in English.
Speak in English.
Well.
Perfect. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mareike, for introduction. Thank you, Stefan and your friends for organizing this Renew Day and for the invitation. It is a great pleasure. I will send you my warm regards from my home. You see on the one side my house and on the other side my garden. All together, it is not carbon neutral. It is carbon sinking. I have no emissions because my house is completely 100% renewables every hour, the whole year, by solar and carbon sinking biofuels, not carbon emitting biofuels. And I can serve my heating, my electricity, my 2 electric cars completely off-grid. It is possible with batteries and other things. And in the garden, I have biocoal, make more and more humus soil, plants, and plenty others. That's what we have to go to. Because you mentioned it, Mareike, already, we have a climate emergency on the world. And this emergency is increasing every year faster and faster. And the reason is, Jami mentioned it already, we have a concentration of climate gases in the atmosphere of 421 parts per million. 30 years ago, when we had an enquete commission in German Parliament, Bundestag, for climate protection, this enquete commission announced when the world will exceed 400 parts per million, it seems likely that we have no chance to go return. But we have now a higher concentration, 421. The reason is the world is emitting and emitting, and the higher the concentration on the atmosphere with greenhouse gases is, the faster the temperature is growing on the Earth's atmosphere. So 8 years ago, we had about 0.8 degrees global warming over the industry level 150 years ago. Today we have 1.2 degrees. And World Meteorological Organization in Geneva announced some weeks ago, in 2026, we will exceed 1.5 degrees global warming in 4 years. We have no carbon budget. The atmosphere is too full. We have, as fast as possible, latest within 10 years, to stop all emissions and to create only carbon sinks, to lower the level of carbon concentration in the world, so that you can see what it means to have more than 400 parts per million. Jami told us perhaps some 1,000 years ago, no, 3 million years ago, the world was the last time over 400 parts per million. 3 million ago, Greenland was free of ice. Canada had tropical rainwoods. Sea level was 40 meters higher than today. That's what means, some decades later, 400 parts per million. Therefore, we have to come to a concentration of 330 or lower. And this is only possible with 2 parallel strategies. It is not possible with climate neutrality. And it is possible with stop all emissions immediately, latest by 2030, and create massive carbon sinks. Both is possible. In the center stands 100% renewables because 60% of all emissions in the world with greenhouse gases comes from the use of mineral oil, mineral coal, and natural gas. We have to stop it completely, latest by 2030, by 100% renewables. Otherwise, we will emit, and we will have 3 degrees global warming by 2050. Human society will not longer exist when we go this pathway. 100% renewable is possible. Energy Watch Group La Pinranta University, and other scientists. We have a global network of scientists. They announced it seems to be possible when the political will is there to come to 100% renewables by 2030 and 35. Because the technologies are ripe, renewables are cheaper than to pollute the world with oil, gas, and coal and nuclear. We have everything, the industry, what we need. We need to have only the political willingness to go in a fast, rapid way, an industry level way with 100% renewables. This is possible when we look back to the history of the industries in the world. In 10 years, combustion cars replaced horse riding in USA completely, nearly completely. In 10 years, mobile phones, laptops covered the world. Why should not renewables cover the world in 10 years when they are now the cheapest option? We can show it, we can do it, and we must do it. And in the center of 100% renewables stand solar and wind. They bring the most energy what we need, about 80% in the world in the future. But bioenergy, but only when we go on a sustainable way. This means when bioenergy is produced by carbon sinking plants with humus and others, not with cutting rainwoods and with intensive agriculture that is an emitting. When we go with sustainable bioenergy, with hydropower and geothermal, then we have the energies who fill up the gaps what wind and solar have sometimes when no solar radiation is there and no wind is blowing. Therefore, the mix of 100% renewables is crucial, together with storage systems, with batteries, with green hydrogen, only with green hydrogen. Do not go the bridge technology with other hydrogens. Hydrogen from natural gas is more polluting the world than natural gas itself, and natural gas is polluting the world highly. A new natural gas power station emits more methane and carbon dioxide than a coal power station. It is not a bridge technology. We have to cancel all fossil and others. It is possible to go this way, and we should lobby all the politicians, the society, the managers, the people. Do it by yourself. When you do it in your house, in your region, you will see a lot of followers, because now they fear rising prices with gas, oil, coal, nuclear, and therefore the people want to go this way. And they will follow you. And the best way is to go decentralized with plenty of people, with community power, with energy communities, to go this way. In Germany, the investment into renewables were 80% by renewable community power, only 5% by the big utilities. So you see the big force, the power stands in ourselves. Do it, influence the people with community power, and then we have a chance to save the world. I am an optimist like Malte. We have the chance to go to 100% renewables by 2030. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those wise words, Hans-Jos. I think the framing that you made, this is the need for sustainability in our renewable approach, is, I find, quite an important one. And we actually had a question on that particular point. So if I may pose it to you to see if you would like to respond to that one. So it comes from Thomas Schmidt, who's online, and he asks, or basically shares the fact that energy companies often use the label of green or renewable when for wood burning power plants, and could be perceived as greenwashing. What are your thoughts on that? How do we deal with that particular piece, and how do we get them to not burn wood, to deal with wood burning? So what are your thoughts on that? And maybe if you could respond considering a global north and a global south perspective, if you could, or we could ask Jami also to jump in on that one.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is a very important question. It is important because main use of bioenergy, of food, of fiber from plants is not sustainable. We see cutting rainwoods, we see intensive agriculture, we see greenhouse gas emissions from agriculture with intensive agriculture and plenty more. This is not only in bioenergy, it is the same in food and in other uses. We cutting woods, burn the woods. We should not go this way. We can burn wood only when we have an overflow, when the wood is a carbon sinking wood and brings us residues from the woods and from the agriculture as well. We should use the plants to go on devastated land, on semi-arid land, for example, in the south, in Africa, in Southeast Asia, in South America. Plenty regions go to deserts because of climate warming, the droughts, and they have no rain. We have to regreen all these areas with vegetable oil to make carbon sinks, to make food, to make energy from them. We would have the possibility to regreen desert and semi-desert lands on an amount to replace fuels for airplanes, only from these areas. Then the people would have income. Then the jatropha would shadow the areas that the food can grow, crops, hirse, and plenty others. This is a way what we have to go with sustainable greening and not with cutting woods, rainwoods. That is terrible for the world.
Thank you very much, Hans-Josef. I think there will lots of questions will come on that particular point, also sharing different views. So please keep the comments coming. Also from the people here, of course, in the room. I just wanted to touch quickly for Jami. If you, from your perspective, you brought science now into the discourse, which I think is really important. Then, and the science keeps on changing, of course, as new data and new information comes in. That is probably where many people do not understand when we use the framing climate emergency, and that the science keeps on telling us different things as things evolve. How do you think we can better deal with that piece to bring useful information to the man on the street, people who are not involved in the renewable energy industry? How can we get them to understand why is the space changing the whole time? Because it is very complex, of course.
Yeah, actually, this is an issue that a vast number of people do not appreciate the emergency of climate change, because perhaps they are not fully plugged into the science of the climate change. I think the way to address this is that you see, in recent times there have been many climatic extremes. For example, here in Delhi we had temperatures going up to 49-50 degrees centigrade. This was not normal, and we do remember that the temperatures go high, but they normally go high up to 45 degrees centigrade in summer. So 49 is way high, and it creates a problem for the common man. You know, the man on the street has a serious problem with such climatic extremes. Then we have cyclones, and we have had floods. We had massive floods in some parts of the world. And all these things, if the media plays it right and carries it to the masses with the proper manner, with some scientific analysis, that why is this happening? Because people think, yeah, once in a while we have had a very bad cyclone, but the next year again there is a bad cyclone, and next year more 2 more bad cyclones. So somebody has to point out to them that this frequency increase, these floods which have not happened for 100 years are happening now. These are caused by climate change, and then the people will start understanding the problem and appreciate it. A point about the wood is that you see a lot of people in some countries, for example, in Malaysia or Indonesia or many other parts, maybe perhaps Latin America, I'm not sure. They take out wood and they make pellets out of it, and then they export it to Europe because you need to burn something in the winter and things like that. But this has almost becomes like a commercial activity with some sort of disregard for the sustainability of extracting wood. So as Hans said, that we can use bioenergy, and we can use by greening up, for example, Sahara with some sorts of plants which can grow there. But cutting wood in rainforests or equatorial forests and then using them for burning in northern areas or wherever by exporting in bulk, that is a problem.
Mareike, may I jump
please.
in? There is a comment in the chat. May I?
Yes, please, very briefly. Then
yes.
we need to also close our panel.
Yes. Thomas Palmert made a frame that is very often heard. Bioenergy is no solution. I see it completely otherwise. Sustainable biofuel is a very important part of the solution, because solar and wind, batteries and other technologies cannot create carbon sinks, but we need huge amount of carbon sinks. Solar and wind cannot create oxygen, what we need for our breathing. The photosynthesis of the plants is important to live in the world. And when we create biofuels on devastated land where there is no food, we would have enough. And when we see at the moment that 70% of the farmland in the world is used to create plants for feeding cows, pigs to produce meat, when we reduce the meat consumption in the world by the half, we would have 40% of the farmland free for plants, for bioenergy, fibers, and others. At the moment, only 4% of the farmland goes to bioenergy. We have the chance to go on a sustainable way, and we must go this way. And I repeat me again, not cutting rainwoods, boreal woods, or others. We must save the woods, no question.
Thank you very much. Absolutely agreed with that one. Maybe a last word from Malte. If you would like to frame Parents for Future play an incredibly important role, I think, in civil society to get more people on board. What is your game plan? Have you got 2 key actions that you could maybe put forward, how to get scaling up and get people interested in renewables?
Yeah, perhaps 3. If it's not 2, 3. At my side is Sabine sitting from Breaks for Future, and I think, your question, how to communicate. Education is one key role. So we have to, the people, they have to know what is right, but they have to be educated. It's not only by knowing, and this is something only teachers know very well. It's not only by knowing, but it's education is a process when you adopt what you know. So it's not only information, it's more than information. And one thing I take from Jami, you said the media, we have to change the media. We had also a kind of a petition in Germany when we tried to put to the TV station, the main TV sender, they always make before 8 o'clock, 5 minutes for the stock market. And we had a petition to say, no, don't make stock market every day, make climate. And we made lots of efforts with popular people, and we didn't go into the major TV program, but smaller ones. This is a second one, to use the media, what Jami said. And the third one, and I think this is the most important one. We have to give the people an ability to become active in any way, because when they are active and when they have the feeling and the experience of being effective and of changing something, then all the information, I think what Hans-Josef, it was so incredibly good. But I think lots of people, they already know, not every detail when we have this about the wood and something like that. But lots of people here in Germany, they really know what is at stake. But they do not act. And if you start to act, then something changes. So we have to give them this balcony modules is one thing, but other ways of participating, participation, activation. This is, I think, the key role to get the people behind the movement.
May I say a word first? I think there are 3 points. We have to make aware that we have a climate emergency in our society, and that's the point, because I think the schools are too slow. We teachers are too slow. We are not aware that there's a climate emergency. I know that because I'm a teacher and I'm working at school, and therefore we need the media to be aware that there's a climate emergency, and we have to force all people, all politicians, all journalists to be aware that there's a climate emergency. And we have to teach them in global goals. This is education for sustainable development. And now I'm a part as the last generation as a teacher. I'm sitting on the street and I'm a part of the last generation because I think we are too slow. Politicians, teachers, all persons im öffentlichen Dienst, we are too slow, and we have to act now because we have a climate emergency. And we need renewable energy.
Thank you so much. I think maybe we can wrap up the panel, but thank you so much for all the interventions. I'm not going to make a summary because it's impossible to summarize the depth and diversity of what you have shared. But we've heard from Parents for Future, Teachers for Future. We have heard from Artists for Future. We are seriously listening to Hans-Josef as speaking also clear words in terms of what we need to do and what we should not be doing. And Jami, your intervention also helping us understand to connect climate change, renewables, and peace. That's a wonderful transition also to our next panel, but I will now hand over to Stefan Gsenger, and we will see a presentation on the Solartal. So Stefan, over to you.
Yes, thank you very much, Mareike, and thank you very much to the panelists of our first panel. I think that was an excellent basis of the discussion that we will have in the second panel. And now it's my pleasure to have a presentation which is kind of connecting the different aspects that we're talking about, climate change and what's happening, and the big transformation that we have to face, that we are facing. It's my pleasure that next to me I have Rainer Dömen sitting, who is also one of the long-term fighters for renewable energy. And Rainer, you have been kind of directly, almost personally affected by the big flood that happened in Germany last year. I think that's been become many people around the world, not only in Germany, heard about it. With almost 140 people were killed by a flood which happened almost a year ago on 15th of July 2021. And that has really changed the mindset of many people, I think in Germany at least, about the urgency that we need to act. Now, we originally wanted to make this kind of the focus of this year's World Renew Day until a war started, which of course is affecting even more people directly. So we thought that we need to connect those disasters that we see, that man-made disasters. And I think in the case of the flood, there is something positive in it. And I'm very pleased to have you here, Rainer, because after this disaster happened, and when you it's not far from where we are here, like 30 kilometers. When you travel through the valley, which was devastated by the flood, it's still today visible that hundreds of houses are destroyed. Some houses have disappeared. But some people had the idea, now this is an opportunity. All these houses have disappeared or destroyed. Let's reconstruct it in a way that is sustainable, that is not anymore kind of damaging our climate. And there's been this initiative born, make out of the R Valley a solar valley. This is what you're going to present.
Yes.
So Rainer Dömen, you are living in a municipality which is where the R River goes into the Rhine River.
Yes.
And that was directly affected. And I would now start your presentation and hand over to you. So let me just change this here. Where are we?
Yeah, thank you very much. I say hello to all of you throughout the world, and I'm glad to give you an overview, a very brief overview about our work to fulfill our task to change our energy system towards renewable until 2030 at the latest. The presentation, the first slide, please. First slide. My task was to introduce a model region for Germany and for the world. That is a very great challenge for the world, but I think what I introduced to you can be used as a pattern for every region throughout the world. Next slide.
Okay.
Next slide.
I try.
At first, I like to. Geht nicht? Does not work? Oh no. Yeah. Okay. The structure of my short presentation is, I hope you can see it on the screen. Okay, at first, also, okay. Okay, the structure is, I talk about the flood disaster in the Ahr Valley. I briefly introduce our roundtable of renewable energy, the district of Ahrweiler, the initial situation, and we had one further research project called Energie, and the scientific based impulse concept for the district of Ahrweiler produced after the flood. And we have a very extraordinary political decision in this district of Ahrweiler, which is a big impulse that politicians, I hope, will start the project at the end. Yeah, then I talk briefly about the project groups and the project proposal. The project proposal, I can only show you how big it is because time is running short. In 50 minutes, I cannot give you a more detailed overview. Generally, I need 2 hours to explain our project proposal. So we can only give you a short overview. Next slide, please. You see a few pictures of the flood disaster. I give you few information. Pictures cannot explain the greatest and most traumatic catastrophe in the Ahr Valley throughout Germany. 3 photos give an impression, the 3 photos on the right side, give an impression of a totally littered, German-wide, very rare nature reserve in the area where the Ahr flows into the Rhine. That is where I live. In 3 months, we collected all kinds of garbage there and filled more than 108 containers of 40 cubic meters, each at the garbage dump in Kripp. Large heavy waste, for example, steel containers that the flood brings in this nature protected region was flown out by the federal police by helicopters as a free maneuver. Concerning the catastrophe, we talk about 134 casualties. We talk about 40,000 of approximately 56,000 inhabitants of the valley who were more or less severely affected by the flood. We talk about roads, bridges, parking lots, and the railway line that are badly damaged over a distance of around 70 kilometers, or no longer exist at all. You see it on the left picture, the street is away. There was a street, there is no street. We talk about more than 300,000 tons of waste of each kind that cannot be sorted regularly. This is usually the amount the county will produce in 35 years. The whole waste has to be taken out of the waste recycling procedure and must be burned down in waste incineration plants throughout Europe, not in Germany, throughout Europe. We talk about more than 9,000 households without heating. We talk about more than 3,000 of 4,200 buildings along the river Ahr that have been damaged. So that is a short overview I will provide you about the catastrophe. The framework, perhaps a few framework data of the district of Ahrweiler. We talk about 130,000 inhabitants, and the district contains of 8 municipalities. One of them is Remagen, where I live. The next slide, please. Now I'd like to give you a short overview about the Roundtable of Renewable Energy, because the Roundtable of Renewable Energy, the abbreviation is RTEE. They are the parents of the initiative Aus Ahrtal wird Solartal. From Ahrtal, the Ahrtal becomes Solartal. Ahr Valley becomes Solar Valley. The RTEE exists almost 5.5 years. We are a voluntary association of energy transition experts. Next slide. Of energy transition experts from all sectors. For example, wind power, solar energy, and biomass utilization, heat, electricity, and heat networks, transport, and agriculture. We discuss current developments at regular intervals, at least once a month, and usually work out a unified opinion. In addition, our editorial team produces articles for the general public, sends the results to the appropriate and competent politicians, government members, and/or media, and disseminates the results on social media, Twitter, Facebook, in newsletters, brochures, and on respective websites of associations. Around 20 associations unanimously agreed our guiding principle, 100% renewable energies by 2030 at the latest, at the 8th of May 2020. And that produces a lot of discussion in other communities that are not members of the Roundtable. They switched over from 2050 to 2045 to 2040 and to 2035, but not quite open. You have to follow them on Twitter, and there you see that they can learn, they are able to learn. Okay, next slide. Yeah, now I come to the district of Ahrweiler. I will show you the initial situation. In 2011, the district decided to convert its electricity generation on balance to 100% renewable energies by 2030. But don't worry, nothing has happened. It's only paper. In 2015, the Energie research project, which was unique in Germany at the time, was launched. This project has to develop a conception of sustainable land use and energy supply at the municipal level. Results should be implemented in the model region Ahrweiler. You see the internet address there. You can get a lot of information about this very important project for us in our district. Because of participation, participation is very necessary to change our energy system. We had various groups of actors. For example, clubs, associations, banks, chambers, they were installed. These groups discussed the relevant subjects and issues in their group in exchange with other groups and in constant exchange with our scientists. The science elaborated in exchange with participants, potentials and scenarios, potential maps. The entire process was moderated professionally. Decisive and adequate presented results were energy profiles for districts, associated municipalities, local communities. And all the energy profiles were discussed in the parliaments of our 8 cities in the district of Ahrweiler and were accepted unanimously. The next slide, please. After the flood disaster in the Ahr Valley and neighboring regions, the energy and structure was also badly hit. In view of the drastic effects of the global climate catastrophe, scientists from the region are demanding that the energy infrastructure should only be built with renewable energies. This demand is supported by more than 20, next slide please, by more than 20 organizations, nationwide non-profit environmental and climate and renewable energy organizations. And very impressive, you see it on the left side, on the top by the energy agency Rhineland-Palatinate 2. In their impulse paper, next slide please. In their impulse paper, the scientists explain in detail which measures are necessary for this, for the benefit of the resident and flood disaster victims in the Ahr Valley. The state government should follow up on the climate protection goals and has set itself with effective action immediately. The scientists explain that a consistent alignment of the reconstruction with 100% renewable energies has a long-term benefit for the district of Ahrweiler. It's important that the population participate and that the measures take place in dialogue with the local people. That is very, very important. The goal of 100% renewable energies could already be achieved by 2027. In addition, even after 100% has been reached, the further expansion of renewable energies in the district makes sense because the nation national average for electricity requirements in 2030 is higher than consumption in the district of Ahrweiler. Next slide. Okay, perhaps I will only show you the details on the slide because time is running short, but I will say something to the electricity sector. For this, the expansion of approximately 400 megawatt peak photovoltaics and 170 till 180 megawatt wind power appears necessary. There is a need to, this estimate already includes the supply of the heating and mobility sector with renewable energies too. Okay, next slide, please. On August 24th, 2021, the free electoral community of the district of Ahrweiler is convinced we have to use the reconstruction by introducing an economy and lifestyle that cause as few emissions as possible. On the 13th of September, the application of this political group was approved finally by all parliamentary groups in the expert committee. It's a final decision. And the energy agency of Rhineland-Palatinate will use, has a task to establish contact with the relevant state and federal ministries and secure the financing of this project group. With a complete reconstruction of the R, the FVG, that's the name of the party, sees a great opportunity to bring everything that has to do with regenerative energy in the direction of 100% in the effective area. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, we leave it out. Next slide, please. Then we, after the decision-making process, we installed 3 project groups, a general coordination group, a project group heat transition, and a project group wind energy. The renewable energy associations at the RTEE took part in each group. On the whole, we talk about circa 46 members. The members consist of science, competing companies, wind power and landscape planners, district administration, including climate protection management, majors, and energy agencies. Okay, take the next slide, please. That is an overview about the content of the project proposal. The figure you see outlines the structural elements that must be taken into account to project-oriented working methods, depicts the fields of action that are described in detail of the project proposal. The project proposal is online. You can read the whole document. It contains 62 pages, so you need a lot of time to go through it. Furthermore, the figure you see indicates the interactions with the topics. There is a need if you change our kind of energy supply towards renewables, you have to be aware of the interactions between all the topics that were discussed in future. They were discussed in future conferences of the Ahrweiler district in September last year. In this way, the resolution of the district and environmental committee is fully met. With this slide, with this picture, that fully meets the decision of the parliament. Okay. I think I will give you, because it's in German, the slide, I will tell you only something about the topic in the outer circle, and I start clockwise at 12 o'clock. You see building and living, you see tourism and viticulture, you see flood protection, you see infrastructure and mobility, business and agriculture, and digitalization and work. And overall, that is a yellow circle. Overall, the project proposal is supported by a lot of, that's wrong. The yellow thing is very important, because the participation and communication field of action is superordinate to all fields of action. That is the kind the project can work. We need a lot of participation and communication. Next slide, please. Now okay, where is it? Okay, next slide, please. I think I go to the out view. I would like to present these two papers here, but I cannot show it. No, it's not possible. No.
Just hold them in the camera. Also mal so.
Maybe have to stop the screen sharing.
So it's not possible. Okay, we cannot do this. So we go over to the out view. The finally coordinated project proposal was sent to almost all decision makers in the district of Ahrweiler, that are more than 80 persons in charge, on the 9th of May 2022, with a request for implementation. The project proposal is attracting a great deal of attention nationwide. The objectives of the involved persons seem to be almost congruent. The aim should be for the district of Ahrweiler to change from being a latecomer in the field of renewable energies to being a pioneer by taking smart and forward-looking steps. We are very glad that Professor, what does it mean in English? Professor, that Professor Claudia Kempfert created a preamble to the project proposal. So we hope that politicians will read this, and that is very important for the start of the project. At the end, I say, yes, we can, said Barack Obama. Yes, we will manage to achieve 100% renewable energies for electricity, heating, and mobility in the region. And the process since September 2021, with the finalization of the project proposal, the structure and the content of the project proposal have the stuff to be used as a pattern for other regions throughout Germany and worldwide. Thank you for your attention. I try to make it short, but I don't know if that works.
Excellent. I think that was a very important presentation, because it shows us that people who are affected, of course, it's exceptional place, because not all parts of the world are yet affected. I think in some parts of the world, it's more common. When I look at here, our friends from Pakistan, they maybe face more of such natural disasters already than we do in Germany. But when you are in such a situation, I think this really underlines people start to think about how to make our world and change it so that it becomes sustainable. And that we thank you very much for your initiative and for all the hard work that you're spending on this.
Thank you very much.
I would like to go to our next panel. And I know that in the program, we actually wanted first to have some music, but in the interest of time, I think we move that and have the music a bit later, because there are some of our friends are also now waiting. Now how to move to the next topic. You all know that the themes of this year's World Renew Day is renewables for climate and renewables for peace. I think many people in the climate movement, they have fully understood that without renewables, we cannot protect our climate. We cannot come to a climate-friendly way of living. Now we have a war in Europe, and that has made many people start to think about what does this have to do with the way we use energy. I can tell you that in particular in Europe, now with the prices for fossil energy exploding, many people do feel that there is a close relation between energy and peace and the war that is going on in the eastern part of Europe and Ukraine. I have now the pleasure that, although we are in this situation, which is not at all pleasant, that we have a special guest from Ukraine, and this is Ruslana Ryzhishko. Ruslana, if I may introduce you, we met for the first time here in Bonn. It was almost 4 years ago, in the year 2018 already, when Ruslana, you visited us as a global 100% platform, because we'd invited you to become an ambassador for 100% renewable energy. And you immediately accepted our invitation. Of course, you are a famous person. Many people, at least in Europe, know you because you became famous when you won the Eurovision Song Contest. So many people started knowing you because you are a famous artist and singer from Ukraine. What not so many people know is that you became very early also a democratic activist and an activist for sustainability, for renewable energy. Not only in the Maidan revolution, which happened almost 10 years ago, but already 10 years earlier, when not so many people think about this anymore, the Orange Revolution started. And after speaking often with you, I've noticed at that first meeting that we had in 2018, that you at that time fully understood the problems that are related with all the oil and gas we are getting in Europe from Russia in particular. You know that nuclear power is very similar. And Ruslana, I'm very pleased that you are with us today. I know you cannot participate in the way that you wanted actually to participate, because I think you made a statement even on Facebook. It's not kind of private. You broke your leg, unfortunately. I also know that in the last weeks and months, you had tireless your efforts to support Ukraine, and you traveled not only within Ukraine, but also in Europe to support and call for support of Ukraine. But now it's my great pleasure to welcome you and ask you to share your thoughts with us. You are now in Ukraine. You've been talking to people long before the war started. Now you are in that situation that your country is under attack, under this terrible attack. Please share your views with us, how you see the current situation and what we can do to support renewables and to support Ukraine.
Stefan, thank you so much.
Just a moment now.
I'm here.
Yes, now we can hear you.
Bravo, bravo. First of all, thank you, Stefan, for everything you do and help for me, for all Ukrainians, for Ukraine. We are together from the beginning of this terrible war, from the first day, and we are speaking every day, every moment, and we try to understand and analyze the situation, how we need to do everything faster than before, as soon as possible. We also organized together a petition about energy for peace. We proposed to the people, to the audience, to the community, some kind of decision, just be more active and show it to each other. So it's not enough just to be community and make conversation like we have now between us, because everybody, I agree, we have a great guru like Hans Josef Fell, we have great guru and the people who are leader and make for us a vision of the future about energy. But today we need to be open for the society and people around the world and work more with the social community and try to explain. It doesn't matter the language. I mean, I will do it from the stage with my music video from Wind platform. When I, they shooted my music video when I'm first singer. I made my music video with wind turbine over ground. Yes, it's extremely dangerous, but I do that because I promote it. This is the way to promote renewable energy in the world with pop music, with pop video, and it works. And I can see how it influenced the people, to my friends. But it's not enough to make only professional event and conversation like we had before. Now we have the really terrible bloody war. Not only Russia against all world. Okay, it's not against only Ukraine for our choice to be Europe. It's true. We have the attack from Putin because we announced that we are Europe. We don't want to back to Russia, to back USSR. We want to be a country with democracy, and we try to develop the technologies, a lot of great culture, art things to be platform also. It's our dream, it's our vision to be as a platform or maybe as a hub to produce 100 renewable energy for Europe. We don't want to be transit anymore by Russia gas, so we stop it. And we appeal to the Europe also at the same time, stop to use any Russia energy product, because it's our mission to explain people why we need to do it. But I'm really worried about autumn, about September. Now we have summer, we have a lot of sun, wind energy, so we have balance. But with September, I think we will see the real how many people are really ready to choose the energy for peace. How many people understand that we need to use maybe more expensive as a price for energy, but the real price of the energy from Russia, it's a lot of people who are killed right now, even now, through this conversation. So our mission to explain to people with our professional languages, with our professional rhetorics and proposition, our plan, explain for just mainstream. It's very important because people are discussed about the price for energy, but not discuss what the really price for this energy. I believe that energy for peace and the mission 100 renewable, it's not only words. I believe that we understand that we really need to pay to change the model of the energy in the world. Ukraine are ready to cancel any Russia energy. I think that Europe also announced it and also do a lot of great things. And we are really thankful to be as a candidate for EU. It happened now, and Europe says that Ukraine is Europe. That is many thanks from all Ukrainians. But we are fighting for that, and we are really lost a lot of people. A lot of cities are totally destroyed. You can see what happened with Mariupol, for example. And every day, every moment for us, it's very expensive to pay for energy from Russia. that is why my message is it doesn't matter the price we had before for energy. Now our mission to make a new, not just proposition. How can I say it? It's the new position of the energy in our life, in our for all countries, all Europe. It's not the question of the politicians. It's not the question anymore to save the planet. It's not just only question for global warming or zero pollution, zero emission. No, now we have a really new position of the energy. If Putin makes the energy as a weapon, if Putin used the Chernobyl and Energodar as a weapon, if Putin the attack with these missiles, with Russian missiles attack and destroyed the nuclear power plant in Ukraine, if MAGATE IAEA do nothing for that. So we need to focus what means energy for peace, what it could be, what it's. Stefan, in my opinion, the energy for peace, it means it's the same thing like 100 renewable. I'm really worried, and that is why Hans-Josef Fell was absolutely right to stop nuclear energy. Now we can see what we have from Putin about our Chernobyl and Energodar, our nuclear power plant. I'm worried about this region. The problem is not stopped. It's still the really dangerous situation for all of us. My proposition, Stefan, of course, I'm really open for everybody because we are friends. We are not just understand how important to provide 100 renewable, but everybody from us really make our mission. But now my proposition, maybe we can organize a new plan, include petition, include event, include materials, include any format, but to provide the message, a position that energy for peace, it means a really it's our protection, it's our security, it's our the most important thing. The energy is most important thing for all of us because of Putin, because of this terrible bloody war. And Ukraine now not just ready or open, but Ukraine, I think we will do everything to provide 100 renewable. For us, it's question to rebuild our infrastructure, which is totally destroyed. It's not just only about cities, it's also about energy infrastructure, which is totally destroyed from some regions in Ukraine. And a lot of people ask me for this moment, like the head of region, even the administration of president, the team of Zelensky, and a lot of professional people in Ukraine who know that I'm ambassador renewable, Stefan, and I'm work together with you with this amazing global 100 renewable platform for you, my friends. And people in Ukraine ask me, Ruslana, help to make a best plan for Ukraine and organize 100 renewable as a new position, energy for peace. I'm ready. I think Stefan also ready. I think Hans-Josef and other my friends also ready. So let's do that and stop this terrible war as soon as possible. Now, this is the one moment when this our peace really depends from our energy.
Thank you very much, Ruslana, for
Yeah, best greetings, Ruslana, to you, and best wishes to overcome this terrible war.
Yeah, Hans Josef, I'm so happy to see you. Now, I heard some sound of the birds, and I thought that it's really from your garden.
Yes, you are right.
It means that you also keep the clean energy sound. I broke my leg. I'm really bad now. That is why I'm without my picture, but you can feel my voice, and I bring my vibration with my voice directly from my heart. I'm so love you and love everybody who are with us right now. This is the great thanks from me and Ukraine, and Josef, for everything you do for us before, now, and for future. Now a lot of people understand all your proposition, all your messages is absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So now we have the best example when we not just discuss about 100 renewable, but now we understand we need it. That's it.
Thank you very much, Ruslana, for the really very, very impressive and I think very clear statement. A very strong message which you sent to the world from Ukraine. And I think it's a message that is not only relevant for Ukraine. We learn this now in many parts of the world, and we will soon also hear, I just mentioned from Pakistan, which is affected by the war because of the energy crisis that you have in the country. We heard from other countries as well. We had a guest, or we had a speaker from India, where food there's an impact of the food crisis. We hear from many parts of the world the direct impact, but I think your main message is we have to really switch as fast as possible to renewable energy. This is something that we really have to take from you. And I think with the situation in which you are, it becomes even more clear. This is not something fancy. We're not talking about something that is lifestyle or something that where some people say it's for well-earning people. This is something very basic, very fundamental. That is what we need to do. So I thank you so much, and certainly we will take it up. Let me mention that the day when the war started, when Putin's troops attacked your country, we did a quite spontaneous podcast, and at that time you called for donations of renewable energy equipment for Ukraine. That was a very spontaneous, but very, very, of course, intelligent call, and we have had some success with that. So the first more than 1,000 mobile small solar sets have been sent to Ukraine. We've collected some more money and we will purchase more equipment. And let me use this opportunity again to call on everyone. I think this is a very good way. Do as much as you can to convert to 100% renewable, not only build LNG terminals now. We must start the solar revolution all over the world. And please, if you can afford, support a country like, in particular, Ukraine, also support other countries so that they can do the investment. It's not a matter of the cost. It's a matter of doing the investment so that they can purchase equipment, and that they, in a country like in Ukraine now, people who do not have access to electricity, that they can have solar panels and they can use the energy from the sun.
Thank you, Stefan.
Well, again, thanks so much. And we will certainly, and at the end, we will summarize, we will summarize this meeting and draft also a new declaration and summarize the discussions that we've had today. We would have loved to hear music from you, Ruslana, and I'm really impressed that in spite of your personal now situation, not only the situation in your country, you've still joined us. But we will have, after this discussion round, we will have some special music from Ukraine. I'm looking forward to that.
Sure.
Now we see you. Thank you so much. That's great to see you. And all our best regards from here to, I think you're in Western Ukraine, I assume at the moment. Yeah, let's now go to our next guest. And I'm very, very happy to have here Janine O'Keefe. Janine, you are one of the really important people in the climate movement, in the international climate movement. You're originally from Australia, but yes, you've been living many, many years now in Sweden. Yes. And you were one of the first who took notice of Greta when she started her school strike. And then you notice that that's a way how we can create awareness. So we are going a little bit back to our first topic, what renewables can do for the climate. But we spoke also many times, and I know that you are aware that this is much more than climate, renewables, peace, justice, this is all connected. And now it's my pleasure to welcome you, and I would like to ask you for your statement.
Hi, my name is Janine O'Keefe, and I thank you for the opportunity to talk. Do you hear me here?
Please unmute
maybe
you.
somebody wants to wave.
Unmute you.
Okay. Hi. It's a pleasure to speak here. Thank you very much. I think it's really, really important for us to understand the voice, the sovereign voice of every individual. That can be Greta Thunberg. That can be any person on the street. Those voices are extremely important, be they Fridays for Future, be they Extinction Rebellion, be they Last Generation, be they Restore the Wetlands, Just Stop Oil. We must respect those voices. Those voices represent the fear we should all have, the fear that our governments do not show, the fear that our journalists do not report. They occasionally get a glimpse of it when they see a person, a 12-year-old, glued to the Autobahn yesterday. That person fears their life. That is correct to fear. Hans Joachim Schönhuber said that 98% of the global school bus will die early with the current mechanism, with our current path. Johan Rockström of Sweden, also a top scientist, says, all life on Earth is threatened. And Antonio Guterres, our UN secretary, says that abdicating on climate is criminal. Do not abdicate your leadership. How many years of leadership have been abdicated? How long have we known? Well over 60. Well over 60 years. We are talking about tens of governments, be they right wing or left wing, it is irrelevant. And climate is irrelevant to what political party you are part of. The climate voice has not been heard for decades. Now we hear it from Ukraine louder because we have Putin creating a war, using fossil fuels and becoming the blood and money line to create more fear, damage, and conflict in Ukraine. But we have seen this already. This is not new. We've seen it in Yemen. We have seen it in Afghanistan. We have seen it in many countries, and we will see it in many, many more. Look at the floods in Bangladesh, barely reported after the heat waves in India and Pakistan. Look at the birds falling out of the sky. Look at the hundreds, if not thousands, of cows dead in paddocks in Texas just this last week. Our food supply is threatened. It will not just show in prices. It cannot be solved by governments giving a little bit of incentive back on fuel prices, giving the taxes back on fuel prices. It can be solved with some solutions, like €9 to travel anywhere in Germany for a whole month. That is a real solution. Paying taxes back into the hands of people to buy more petrol is feeding the climate beast and feeding the war beast. The only way out now is, if we continue down our current path, is conflict and death. And that is because we have not faced for 6 decades. Before I was even born, and I'm not young. You know, we are the last generation. We shall sit on the streets because more can be done. Not because one government is not doing enough and another government is doing a great job. It's because every government can do more. And we must give that to every younger person, every person who is younger than ourselves. We must say sorry to each one of those. And we must also say sorry to the MAPA people, the people in the most affected, areas. Because they are suffering now. They are dying now. Their death is partially because of our personal emissions, but mainly because of our lack of leadership. And mainly, even if our governments talk about climate, they talk about adaptation, they do not talk about mitigation. They do not talk about reducing the carbon being emitted into the air. And they do not warn us about what is going wrong. How well was the R Valley warned? The meteorologists gave days of notice that those floods would occur. How many of those 135 people who died, how many of those knew? How many of the people, the 1 million people or more in Bangladesh flooded now, how many of those knew that they would have floods? Because the heat waves in India were causing that water to go up into the air. We were bound to have floods somewhere. We must know that. The climate is just reacting. It is not planning to kill us, but it is a monster. It will destroy our societies. That's what the scientists are saying. Listen to them. If you can't listen to them, get out of the way. Remove yourself from any power, any political interest, and just say you are too weak to change these decisions. Get out. Just like oil should not affect our COP meetings. Those meetings are about us, not about the oil industry, not about small changes. It's time to do big changes. Small changes is just a yes to reduce our society, to destroy our society, to actually make civilization dead. That's what our scientists are saying. So listen to Ruslana, listen to Greta, listen to Johan Rockström, listen to Hans Joachim, listen to Antonio Guterres. Align yourself with the facts. Climate is not here to help us unless we help it. We must use nature. We must help nature to help us. That includes biofuels. I understand that they are a part of the picture, but they also can be a false part of the picture. So we need to be careful. We need to understand the science. But we must act. If you cannot do anything else, get on the street. Join Last Generation. Join Restore the Wetlands. Make the voices heard of the people who are willing to go to jail. Our judgment, our systems, the court systems are turning. The people there know that they are judging against the Constitution. In Germany, they showed last year that the Constitution was not aligned, the government was not aligned with the Constitution. So the judges will free us. They are freeing many people who go on the streets. So it is our turn to be strong, to get out there, to stand up.
Thank you very much, Janine. That was a very impressive statement. I think you made very clear where we do stand, and the situation is very, very serious. By the way, regarding your last point, we just heard that a few days ago in the Czech Republic, a court took a similar decision like last year in Germany. So you're right. Yes, the court said the government is not acting enough on climate change and they must do more.
Perfect.
Yes. So with this, again, thank you very much for all the great work that you've been doing the last couple of years and your contribution to creating this global movement. And now, and I think the nice thing is it's on many shoulders now. A few people started it, but it's on almost millions of shoulders now. People are not, you can't stop them anymore. And what impresses me so much is that this movement is not corrupt at all. I think people tried that at some places, but there's no way that that can be stopped. Now, we still had a little bit more kind of the angle from a European, or let's say Australia is a part of what we call Western societies. It's my pleasure now to have our next guest here. And if I may ask you to, because of the microphones here, it's my great pleasure now to welcome my old friend, Dr. Irfan Mirza from Pakistan.
Thanks,
Irfan, you are one of those pioneers of renewable energy in Pakistan. I think we met for the first time in Pakistan in 2003, almost 20 years now. And at that time you worked for the government. So you were one of the first people in Pakistan who formulated the policies for renewable energy future. You left the government after some time and you've now been working many, many years in the private sector. And I think you've been involved in many of the renewable energy projects in the country. So you will do the practical side of this now. But I know that you have the big picture in mind. You also know what is happening in Pakistan with the recent heat wave and all these things. So Pakistan is a country, of course, with also geopolitical a very high importance. And we heard you just had a change in government. And I assume that that was also, there was an impact of the energy crisis, but you can tell us more. So we look forward to hearing your perspective on the importance of renewable energy, why a country like Pakistan and also other countries should go as soon as possible to renewable energy.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you very much. I have heard two heart-touching speeches, and I think both of them coming from the heart rather than I think ours. And previously also all the speeches are definitely coming from the heart, but these two, especially Ruslana, and then if I may go on, Janine. So thank you very much. And these are very, really heart-touching speeches. So and you always learn when you come here. So it is, as far as Pakistan is concerned, before I go to the big picture, as you very rightly said, we need to see the big picture. But I just wanted to tell you my very small experience from the last 2 days. I haven't thought about it previously somehow, but I just thought I was living in a very small town, Bladfulville, for the last 2-3 days, where I have seen that most of the people are doing the bicycling for their, for their offices, for their schools, everything. So I actually got hold of one of the gentlemen who was coming on the bicycle to the office, and he was once being in Pakistan also. So I asked him, what, can you do the same bicycling in Pakistan also? He said, no, not possible, because we have a proper tracks here. And we have, so basically, it is the mindset which have to be changed, For example, making the electrical vehicles and charge them with the fossil fuels is basically an eyewash rather than anything else at this point in time. Okay, that definitely different technologies have to take their own path, but still, with respect to the climate change, we have to raise the voice that, okay, the transportation sector is very important. If we have to have electrical vehicles, then we have to charge them through renewable energy, because everybody at this point in time is taking the credit that we want electric vehicles because of the climate and things like that, but everybody is charging them from the fossil fuels. So now coming to the Pakistan, because it's very clearly so much has been said and linked between the climate change, peace, and there is nothing to said more about what Rusana has already said. So I just wanted to second that actually. The impact is global. The impact of war is global. For example, in the last few months, the electricity prices in Pakistan have risen up to 40%. And, you know, electricity, climate, that might be a serious issue with respect to European countries, but it is a necessity as far as where we are at this point in time. Nobody needs it more than us. For example, everybody knows that we are the worst hit countries potentially on the climate. On the list of first 4 or 5 countries, Pakistan is one of them. And climate is basically, the people of Pakistan are now saying not only to the international community, but their own government at this point in time, to please look at your, not the electricity mix only, but the overall energy mix. You know, just to put things in perspective, our electricity mix is highly tilted towards thermal, coal energy, oil, imported gas, for example. Like 70, 80, 90% is like this. Okay, we have 25-30% hydro in the electricity mix, but that is it. Only 1% or 2% wind. That also, I must give credit openly here to Stephen because of his first visits, along with the Honorable Prabhan Megad at that point in time. When you come to Pakistan, and we have initiated all these things, and you supported us in the policy and everything also there. So basically, but still, I second you, ma'am. We are doing things just without thinking that this is not enough at this point in time. And you know, when I started this movement 20 years back, at that time, when I go to the different government quarters, like Prime Minister and the President and you know, the decision makers, they always say renewable energy price is so high, we cannot do it. We are a country who is required, we don't have money, and so on and so forth. 20 years down the line, the renewable energy is the cheapest source available at this point in time. And it is not cheapest in a sense like 10%, 20%, 30%, like 200, 300% cheapest source available at this point in time. But we have our own vested interests actually. So now the logic changes. Now, what is the logic? The logic is that renewable energy is an intermittent source and we need a base power. So we cannot run a country based on solar or wind because sometimes they come, sometimes. Okay, partly this is okay. And I understand technically in a Europe where you have connected grids, sometimes, you know, you have different times of generation available to you, but obviously, so partly this is correct, but I cannot buy that logic 100% because, for example, technologies are changing. If you really want to do something, you actually think ahead. I'm not saying do it right now, for example, which everybody is saying like 10 years down the line. Okay, I grant 15 years down the line, 20 years down the line, but you can only do things when you think. When you stop thinking, it means nothing is going to change. As you very rightly said, go to the streets, do something. Let's not, you know, feed Mr. Putin to, you know, kill more people because of this. It is not only Putin. If you see all over the oil generating countries, they have their own motive, they have their own mafias, and you know, peace is not only within the countries, peace is within that particular country. If you see because of this oil generating companies, there might not be peace within their own countries. They might be killing their own people to be at power and use that money. You know, these are very important things. It is not across the border. It is within this is very, very important to understand that it is within also. So what I see is that if we import the vessels of RLNG coming from Qatar, coming from different countries, and so why not? There are new technologies coming. We have a huge land. There is a huge sea available to us. Why can't we even think to have hydrogen and start using it in our pipelines rather than this? Why? Because we don't. Okay, it cannot be done today, but it can only be done if we start thinking. But my issue in countries like us, what I'm saying is not true only for Pakistan. It is true for most of the developing or underdeveloped countries, you know. So they don't want to think. They think always when you say 100% renewables, they say it's a luxury available to the European countries. We can't think it is the, you know, they have, you know, I want to be very open and honest here because these are very, very critical things. When you talk to countries like us, they say, okay, European countries or developed nations, they have used coal to reach at a level where they are right now, and now they don't want us to. Now we all have to understand, you know, people like me are actually odd one outs at this point in time, but we wish that we should not be like that. But we think that, okay, it is not, okay, somebody has done something, it's gone. It is not they want to do it or they don't want to do it. It is the climate. And we somehow are going to be the worst hit country as far as the climate is concerned. So, you know, it is, for example, it is just like that we always keeps telling Rosanna that, okay, we are with you, all the countries. I'm talking at the country level, not at the individual level. So, and at the end of the day, we still, you know, didn't plan something and keep on buying the Russian oil and say, we are with you, but okay, it is our necessity, we have to. So similar situation in our countries that, okay, we want to use coal, we want to use oil because our economy is growing and we have to do that. What if I see technically, and we also need to involve or put this forward in a sense that the developed nations should definitely need to support more to these, because climate doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you are polluting at this half or you are polluting at that half. At the end of the day, you know, you very rightly put again that if the temperatures are rising in India and Pakistan, they are definitely going to be flood somewhere else. So if you are producing here or there, it doesn't matter. Right? So it is not, it is definitely need to be a bigger movement than within ourselves, within our countries, within our, you know, continents. It has to be bigger than that. It is for the earth. So it doesn't matter who used coal and oil 50 years back, 30 years back, but at the same time, to convince countries like us, it is very important that developed countries at least now say that we are going to stop this and we give you another 10 years and support you develop technology so that you can do that. But it is not going to happen that we keep on using the, you know, because when I go to my decision makers, they definitely have the figures. I don't know. There are different people, there are different. So they say, okay, USA is using that much electricity from thermal, X country is using that much, Y is using that much, and you people are always come and say we are a developing country and you want us to, you know, things like that. So it is not possible for people like us to discard that 101%. It is that we need to put our foot where our mouth is. So it means people like us sitting on this table, you know, we need to try more wherever we are, whatever we are doing, but it has to be a bigger movement than what it is at this point. I think I have taken enough time. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, you're, I think, again, thank you very much for your very clear words and very clear statements. It is very clear, I would say, from someone living in an industrial country, that we are the ones who mainly caused the problem, but we must still work together and support each other. And those who can support more should do that without now pointing at anyone. But we must strongly work together. And I think this is also, I'm so happy that we have the very different people here around the table and joining us from other parts of the world. That let's strengthen these alliances that we have just started to build. We have the climate movement with now millions of people around the world. We have, and you are mainly now on the business side, we have some of the businesses which are pioneers and doing it. They want to do it. Let's together go to our governments and tell them, first, we are going to do it whether you want it or not, but if you do support us, we will be even faster.
No more Nordsee oil.
For example, like that. We can immediately have hundreds of examples from coal, in whether it's in Europe or in China or in Pakistan or in gas in some African countries. We must stop all of this.
That's what the last generation is saying.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the time, and I know we still have one speaker who is waiting for us. And I would now like to invite him. And it's my great pleasure to have another representative from Ukraine, and a person who is representing more also the business side, who understands the economics in Ukraine. And it's my pleasure now welcome Dmytro Los from the Ukraine Business and Trade Association. And I'm sure that you have a lot of work now to do, how to deal with the situation. I'm very pleased that you are with us, and I would now like you to make your intervention and to speak with us.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, and thanks for this great possibility and to being invited for your meeting. Yes, indeed, our Ukrainian Business and Trade Association made a lot of efforts during the last 3 months to help Ukrainian economy survive. A couple of words about us. We may be the only one Ukrainian association which want to create a new future in Ukraine on the principles of sustainable development, and we gathered under our umbrella exporters, or better to say, those people who see in the world. And the first part, what I want to express my sincere gratitude to European Union and to Europeans for what you're doing right now to Ukraine. We definitely feel ourselves like a part of European Union, like a part of European family. And yes, we are eager to continue, and we are eager to create brand new country from Ukraine. It's our great chance. So I want to speak today not about disaster which is going on the East, but I want to speak about freedom and opportunities. What I mean by freedom, I mean the freedom of choice, the freedom of creating something new in our country, the freedom of movement, the freedom of speech, the freedom of decisions. And when I'm speaking about opportunities, I don't want to talk about rebuilding of Ukraine. We have a unique possibility to build new Ukraine on new technologies, on absolutely another principles. Now Ukraine, during the war, still supporting all the world with food and playing an important role in food security. And yes, we will play this role, and we will support those who need that. But there is no food without energy. And when we're talking about energy, we're remembering Chernobyl, remembering all these old types factories which were built in Soviet times in Ukraine. We don't want to rebuild them. We need really to establish new projects of what has to be done and what has to be built after the war. We definitely believe that we will win the war. No questions about that. So for me, the question of opportunity of what Ukraine will be, which role it will play in European Union and in global society. And right now, it's already the moment when we have to calculate and to create projects, when we have to spend our efforts on what we will build, because the time will come and nobody will be prepared for that. So New Ukraine built on the principles of clean energy, of sustainable development, can become a really brand new country, as Singapore or in Europe. So right now we need to gather around main and very important understanding that reality and future will become right now. So we need to create a special task force which will already start creating projects for Ukraine. I can tell you that our association only last year we were involved in calculations of national determined contribution of Ukraine, and it was work of our analytical team, also partially with another team, to creating it. We also gathered companies which first time financed participation of Ukraine in COP26 in Glasgow, and we're doing a lot. More to say, we were the first association which calculated and created Ukrainian agricultural Green Deal, which we call Food Transformation System Matrix, which was adopted by the order of the President of Ukraine, Zelensky. But much more has to be done. So we mustn't stop. We must work already. We understand the way and we understand where we have to move, but without support of global society, without establishing proper funds and proper structures which will deal directly with Ukraine and which will be concentrated on it, none will understand what we will want to create from our country. And business will definitely support it, because business will be those guys who will create new opportunities, who will create new working places. And those guys who will come directly to Ukraine, to Greenfield, to build new electrical stations, new power stations, to build new roads and so on. Those will be the core team, and those will be the main, how to say it, board of people which will decide and which will show up where to move. And right now, we also need a lot. You understand that we definitely don't want to use fossil oil, I don't know, whatever, gas and so on. But it means that we need to transform everything to new types of energy. And right now we have a huge problem, for example, with schools. There's no gas from Russia. There's actually, to be honest, economy is still running, but not on the best way, because our, as you know, definitely Ukrainian economy was absolutely export oriented. And now, unfortunately, we lost all of our sea opportunities. So we have this thin bottleneck through European Union, and we can export only 20% of what we exported before. So economy is running, but there will be a dark time. And that dark time will mean that in any case, Ukrainians will need energy, and even schools will have to be heated. So we need to think right now in two paradigms. If you want to create a sustainable Ukraine in the future, we need to show a goodwill right now for example, making solar panels for schools or for hospitals and so on. So sorry that I'm as pragmatical as I can be, but definitely representing business. As always, we don't have too much time to talk. We need to act. And even in the last 3 months, after our communications, Great Britain, European Union, Canada vanished all the quotas for years, which gave additional financial support for Ukraine. It's very important. Now, a lot of things are done already in terms of logistics, and we're working on that. But again, we need to think about the future. So if we will create a special task force for Ukraine, if we will start analyzing problems which Ukrainians have right now, and if we will compensate what is lost by new type technologies. For example, let's do it only in one city. But imagine the problem which people have right now in Mariupol or Nikolaev, which are sitting almost without water or without energy. And just imagine what will happen in 6 months when summer will go out and you will have autumn, and then you will have cold there. So we need to act. We need to think right now, and with all our capacities, with all our people which are working or supporting UBTA, we are ready to be involved. We are ready to work 24 hours a day, but to move all this story forward and to see that we will obtain a plan and actions to create a brand new, absolutely created on new technologies, my lovely country. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your attention, and sorry for being so straightforward and pragmatical.
Thank you so much. And I think there's certainly no reason to apologize for being pragmatic, because this is what we need. We do not need to talk just about some utopia. We talk about how the world, the real world, has to change. And I'm very grateful that you've been able to join us. And for sure, I think many, many people around the world are with you, and they want, of course, that first, that the war ends and that no one anymore is killed. That must be the very, very first step, and is most important, more important than anything else. And then I'm sure that many, many people around the world are also ready to team up with you. And I think we just heard from Pakistan, if we think about, or we understand that people in the different parts of the world have a similar way of thinking. If we work together, we practically support each other, then that development again cannot be stopped. Of course, this is still a more theoretical statement, but if that's followed by practical steps, and I think this is where we have to go. And we all willing, and we will follow up with this also to support practically your country to get where you should be. So thank you again very much. And with this, I would like to hand over back to Mareike to kind of summarize try to summarize what we've discussed today.
You're handing me a big challenge, Stefan. Well, I think the diversity and the richness comes from the different perspectives we've heard here today. And I am leaving this meeting more optimistic than I entered it. And I will tell you why. We have Parents for Future, Teachers for Future, Science for Future, Fridays for Future. We have people wanting a future. And I think what I'm hearing, the sense of, yes, we can, the technology is there. Where we seem to have a real problem is with political decision-making and people in power who are not stepping in and understanding the emergency themselves, potentially. So we need to definitely train and teach our politicians and our political leaders at all levels of government. That we are doing, at least from ICLEI side, at the subnational level, but we need national government to step in or step out. I really like Janine's approach there to say, if you're not a real leader by tackling climate change, get out. Other people are happy to step into that space, probably more younger people also. The disaster and the catastrophe we've seen in Ahrtal illustrates these disasters focus the mind and draw the attention to climate change, but climate change is happening, and we now have an opportunity to design that transition to a 100% renewable future. Everybody mentioned that this is possible. I think Hans-Josef Fell was very clear also in what that could include and looking at the sustainability of it. I am confident that this conversation will deepen, and I think we need to join forces, join hands, specifically also with renewables for peace. This is coming out quite clear from our Ukrainian colleagues, and we all understand that we want peace, and peace is a necessity to move forward to a sustainable future and a 100% renewable future. I don't think I can say it any better than all of you have said. So thank you so much, all our speakers online and in person. It was an absolute pleasure to listen to you. We are now calling on you all. Please make your donations if you can to get the Ukrainian support upgraded. We are calling for donations, both financial or if you have renewable energy technology to share. This work will continue, of course, and we absolutely support that 100% renewable transition for the Ukraine, of course, as well. Please look out for the declaration, which we will pull together. It will potentially include a call to action for all of you as well. Let's join forces and make this work. Thank you, everybody. And
Yes.
thanks online also for all the wonderful comments and links and questions that came in. We were not able to address everything, but we have definitely taken note. And thank you so much for our online engagement.
Thank you very much, Mareike. Now, before we come to the final part, I would, that is some, as I indicated earlier, we have some cultural program from Ukraine. I would just like to share with you, go to the website of the World Wind Energy Association. You find the here the details where you can make donations. You can also send in-kind contributions for renewables for Ukraine. Yeah, with this, I think we've talked a lot now. We have some music, and music is a very good language to connect even people who do not speak the same language. And we've got special greetings from colleagues from Ukraine who are in a special situation, and they developed during the time when they had to hide in shelters. They still met to listen to music. And we can share with you some of the recordings of the music which was recorded in one of those shelters. So people are under missile attack and they're still meeting because they just didn't want, they wanted to still live in a way with culture. So I'm going to share this is now with you.
Message to the viewers of the World Renew Day. Right now I'm standing here in this peaceful park, but just few hundred kilometers from here there are bombs and there are missiles and there is death. Ukraine is struggling the worst experience since the Second World War. There are cities that are occupied, there are cities that are dead. And this war is not over yet. We need to take action in every possible field. The energy field is vital for the whole civilization. Right now, this is the time when you can see how the fossil energy in the hands of the dictatorships can be a dangerous weapon for the entire nation, for many nations. That's why renewables is not just a good thing to have. It is vital for life. It is vital for peaceful and safe life of our world. Today we are sending you our voices for life. It is the Ukrainian art project, the musical project, that is called Voices You. The artists that you will see right now sing to the lyrics of Ukrainian poets of the 20th century. Unfortunately, many of the poets were killed by Soviets in the last century. Same as many talented people are dying right now from the hands of Russians. But this music is not sad. It's not about death. Vice versa. It is about love. This is our voices. These are our voices for love and for life. So please welcome Voices You for the World Renew Day 2022.
Росте Антонич і росте трава, і зеленіють кучеряві вільхи. Ой, нахилися, нахилися тільки, почуєш найтайніші сі слова. Дощем квітневим весно не тривож. Хтось стовкнув цпан скляний блакитне небо. Хтось сипле листя, кусні скла на тебе. У решето ловити хочеш дощ. Всіх найдивніша мова гайова, в рушницю ночі вклав хтось зорі кулі, на вільхах місяць розклюють зозулі. Росте Антонич і росте трава, росте Антонич і росте трава, росте Антонич і росте трава.
There we go. Music in action. Thank you so much, everybody, also for the colleagues staying online. Much appreciated that you also held through such a long agenda. And thanks to everybody who was here, and safe travels back home. Looking forward to working with all of you in stepping in, scaling up, and having fun in the sun. Thank you so much, people. Stay well.
And I would like to have a final word. We heard a lot renewables are energies for the climate. We heard renewables are energy for freedom energies. We heard renewables are energies for peace. And I think the last speaker spoke about love. So let's make renewables the energies of love. Then we can save the world. Thank you.